Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's video is all about premium planning. Basically my strategy around premium players, which premium players I'm bringing in, why I'm bringing them in, the impact on my chip strategy, captaincy and transfers. I'll be showing you the exact strategy I use which got me a back-to-back top 2k in the world. Now if this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. So before we get into more detail regarding which premiums I've picked, why I've picked them, I want to start with the player projections for this upcoming season. This data is taken from Rob T FPL, an account on X which produces excellent data. He's part of the Solio Analytic team. Check them out if you're interested in data. In this table, I'm not expecting you to see anything revolutionary. Some of this is pretty obvious, but it's definitely worth looking at before we start talking in depth regarding premiums and this season, which ones I want to bring in. Now, this player projection shows us in order via score who's predicted to score most points this season. And surprise, surprise, Mr. Mohamed Salah is at the top with projected 232 points. After that is Palmer at 212 points. After that is Haaland, then Saka, then Bruno Fernandes, Wirtz, Gorkes, Watkins, and so on. Now, Isaac isn't in this table. I think they kept him out because they wasn't sure if he's going to be moving to Liverpool or not. So they just kept him out of this data set, unfortunately. Although I will be including him as one of my premiums. For me, I've gone for Isaac, Saka, Palmer, Haaland, and Salah. They're the 5 premiums I will be discussing in depth in this video. As I said earlier, the names at the top of the table is to be expected. There's a reason they're the most expensive players and the players that we want in our team the most. The premium players take the set pieces, the penalties, they're the talisman of their teams, predominantly scoring the most points. Undoubtedly, there will be someone else who steps up and scores way above their price point. So last season we had Mbumo. This season, you never know. It could be Wirtz who's coming at 8.5 million. For all we know, he might end up scoring at a premium level. The only other thing that's noticeable in this table here is predominantly midfielders. Now, we know midfielders scored the majority of the points. Last season, the forwards got a bit of a buff. The bonus points finally started to go towards their way, hence why they've become a bit more important to our teams. There's 6 forwards in this chart, the rest of them are midfielders. Midfielders getting that extra point for a goal and the extra point for a clean sheet. And who knows, this season, if we add the defensive contributions and recovery points, might make them even more powerful. So that's something that remains to be seen how it plays out throughout the season. Some of this information is pretty obvious, but it's definitely worthwhile looking at before we select our premiums. What we're trying to do here is get as much information as possible to add to things that we know are important when selecting a premium. So do they take penalties? Do they take set pieces? Are they the talisman of that team? Is their minutes incredible? We also want to know, are they playing for the best teams? So for example, if my premiums are playing for the top teams on this list here, it means they're winning the majority of the games. They're scoring the most goals. They're keeping the most clean sheets. It means his probability of returning is higher. It's pretty obvious for most managers, but it's definitely worthwhile looking at this season's upcoming projections. So as we can see, Liverpool at the top, Arsenal next, Manchester City, Chelsea, Manchester United, surprisingly actually. So clearly the market data is taking into account what Manchester United are doing in the transfer window this season. They're joint with Newcastle, which is very, very surprising. So this data just reassures me the premiums I'm picking are playing for the best teams that are more than likely going to win the most games this upcoming season. Right, let's go to the fixtures, which is probably the most important thing you're going to look at before selecting your premiums. Now, this graphic here shows you the 5 premiums I'm looking at, which is Salah, Haaland, Palmer, Saka, and Isaac. And it's got from game week 1 to 15. What am I looking at? I'm looking at good fixtures. And depending on your combination, you might go for 1 premium, 2 or 3. You're looking at whether you can rotate them. Why am I doing this? Well, of course, it's for captaincy. One of the most important things with premiums. If you're spending this much money on a player, which in theory is detrimental to other parts of your team, because of course, if you've got 2 £14 million players, it means somewhere else in your squad is suffering. Now, you can justify that if you're going to be captaining them every week. So when I'm looking for the fixtures, I'm trying to see is there good combinations between 2 premiums or maybe 3 premiums that I can start the season with, giving myself a good captaincy every week. Now, what I will say, I haven't included my fixture difficulty rating colors in this graphic here. We'll discuss that a little bit more later on, but also this season, I use my own FDR. I never use the one that the Premier League offer us. That one tends to be out of date pretty quick. It doesn't get updated regularly enough. It doesn't take into account injuries, form, European football. There's a lot of things, so I find it quite misleading. So this season, if you are interested in using my FDR, it will be available for members this season. So you're more than welcome to join and get a hold of that, as well as other exclusive content for members. So straight away, I can see Mohamed Salah, game week 1, Bournemouth at home. I like that fixture. The champions opening up on a Friday night versus a team who have been decimated by outgoings. In fact, I think they've lost 4 from their back 4. Hoyson, Kerkez, Zebiani and Kepa. That's not great at all. They've kept their attack, which is good for them, but the defense is not looking good. And for me, that's a big green tick for Mohamed Salah. So that's the sort of thing I'm looking at. But then straight away, I see Mohamed Salah, if I do go with him, I see he has Newcastle and Arsenal next. I just spoke about captaincy. I don't like those captaincies. You'll see my FDR later on. They're reds, they're avoids. You do not want a captain, even though Mohamed Salah can score against everyone. Why would I still go there? That's just bad planning. So then I'm looking at combinations. Who in game week 2 and 3 can complement Mohamed Salah? What can I work with? So that's the first thing I'm looking at. I'm looking through the list thinking, where are the combinations? Who rotates pretty well? Because ideally, I want 2 premiums, but you can go 3. Some might even go 4. Some might even go 1. That's totally up to you. There's no like set meta. From my perspective, I like to have 2 premiums if possible, because naturally the one you go with will have a difficult fixture. So you're going to want to have someone else, an alternative in your team that you're comfortable captaining. Now you can see the green colors on this graphic. What this highlights is the 3 promoted teams. In the last couple of seasons, I've been studying the promoted teams, and let me tell you, they've struggled big time. Every team that comes up practically just goes down, getting battered most games. We 100% want to be targeting those teams, but more importantly, we need our premiums to be playing those teams. And we also need to think about the premiums that are not going to be in my team. How can I mitigate against them? What I mean by that is, say I've gone Mohamed Salah and Palmer. In game week 2, it's likely I'm not going to have Saka. Of course, I can use transfers, I can use a free hit, I can use my chips. I know that. But the reality is, at the start of the season, I'd love to start pretty strong where I can actually stack a couple of transfers. So how do I mitigate against that? I need to start thinking about that. We're going to talk a bit more about that later on in a bit more detail. But they're the things that are going through my mind. Finding the right combinations, the best fixtures, and especially the promoted team. So we can see here, game week 4, Mohamed Salah, Burnley away. Yes, please, we will want that. Mohamed Salah, this is a bit further away. Normally, you want to plan for the first potentially 10 game weeks, or plan up to when you're going to wildcard, because from then, of course, it's new planning, because then you can bring in whoever you want. But just having a look at the overall picture, you can see Mohamed Salah, game week 14 and 15, Sunderland and Leeds. It's going to be very difficult to go against him. Now, you can see, for example, Haaland at that game week there has got Sunderland as well when Mohamed Salah has Leeds. That's perfect. Game weeks like this spice things up, because game week 15, for example, some will be going Salah, some will be going Haaland, some will be going Isaac, who has Burnley as well. This is where the swings are huge in FPL. These are probably the most exciting game weeks of the season. As you can see, game week 19 is a repeat of the previous fixtures. Salah has Leeds, Haaland has Sunderland, and Isaac has Burnley. Huge swings, super exciting weekend. Trust me, it was going to be buzzing in your mini leagues, whether online, wherever you're communicating, your WhatsApp groups. These game weeks are the ones where they're huge. What else am I looking at? I'm looking at back-to-back promoted teams. So for example, Palmer in game week 26-27 has Leeds and Burnley. I mean, that's gorgeous. If you don't own him, what are you going to do to mitigate against that? If you do own him, surely you captain him. Saka in game week 24-25 has Leeds and Sunderland, back-to-back promoted teams. I can't emphasize how important it is to make sure we're thinking about these promoted teams. The Premier League is such a difficult league. These teams come up, they go back down. If I show you the table later on, the amount of goals conceded by last season's relegated teams was ridiculous. And this is the remainder of the fixtures here from game week 31 to 38. I'm doing the same thing, looking at combinations of premiums, the best fixtures, promoted teams, rotations, all that good stuff. What I will say is, of course, you should not be planning in details this far in the season. No chance. I'm not suggesting that one bit. I just like to get a top level view and make a note and then put it to the side. The reality is, only thing that matters is basically the first, say, 10 game weeks. Or in fact, if you know your chip strategy, say you're going to wildcard in game week 7 or game week 13, then of course, only focus up until then, because once you wildcard, you reset your team, you can do whatever you want again. So please, don't let this overwhelm you or think you have to strategize that far. Not at all. I just do it at the start of the season, make a note, and then I park it. Then I go back to focus, like we're going to do in a minute, to the start of the season, because that's all that matters. So when we was going through the fixture list a minute ago, I was highlighting the promoted teams. Now I want to just add a bit more context to that. Have a look at these 3 premiums against last season's 3 relegated teams, the teams that got promoted and then subsequently went straight down. Mohamed Salah, I think he scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals and 1 assist in them 6 games. Tells you the power, the impact. If you own him, you just captain him. Haaland as well. It's 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, no assists. I mean, this guy is not interested in giving anyone else goals. He just wants to score himself. But still, comfort in captaining these premiums against the promoted teams. The probability is so high of an attacking return. Palmer's stats, a bit of an outlier. Not that great at all. It's weird. I captained him in 3 of those games, so that was super frustrating. But start of the season, he had a good first half of the season. The second half of the season, or let's just say against these promoted teams, he didn't perform. Saka stats, similar to Palmer. He didn't really perform against the promoted teams. Unlike Palmer, Saka did miss a lot of games through injury last season, so his numbers are going to be a bit down. Isak, on the other hand, just like Haaland and Salah, feasted against the promoted teams. Have a look at this. He scored 4, 5, 6, 7 and assisted twice. If you captain him in those games there, you're smiling. Huge green arrows. The reason I put these graphics up is a reminder to you the importance of owning our premium players that we captain against these promoted or weak teams in the Premier League. Now, you can't own all of them. So the strategy is here, and this is where planning comes into it. Which ones you own, can they rotate, and how do you cover yourself against the premiums when they have easy games and you don't own them? We're going to talk about that in a bit more detail later on. There's a strategy for that as well. So now I want to look at fixture runs for my potential premiums. And what I mean by this is at least 3 games or more in a bunch together. Now, this is important because, as I said, we can't transfer every week our premiums. We don't have enough transfers or enough chips, and it's just not sensible management. So I need to make sure I have them for the right chunks of fixtures. Now, earlier on in my fixture list, I only had the promoted teams highlighted, but now I've got a bit more on my FDR. As you can see, the key on the left, I've got easy, good, and okay. The full FDR, which I said is available for members, has also got hard and basically avoid. There's teams you don't ever want to captain against them. Like, that's just pretty obvious. So as I said, I'm not going to include them because I'm looking at the nice chunks here. So let's start with Mohamed Salah. His one start from game week 13 to 16. You can see he's got 2 easy ones and another good. So from 13 to 16, he looks like he's a very good own and an easy captaincy. Now, of course, he has other fixtures before, but some of them might be just 2 or 1 and sandwiched in between difficult games. On this graphic here, I'm trying to look at 3 or more. Like I said, it's very important for me to own premiums when they've got a chunk of fixtures in a row. We can't be transferring and moving every week. Yes, we can have rotations, which means if they get a difficult fixture, I can captain my alternative, no problem at all. But I can't be making transfers every game week. I need to mitigate against that. And this type of fixture planning really helps. So as I said, Salah from game week 13 to 16, lovely. Again, from 18 to 20, he's got, look at that, 2 easy fixtures and 1 okay fixture. What I mean by okay is ideally you'd want a good or an easy fixture, but if you don't have him, you could still possibly captain him. That's what I mean by good. Now, of course, the FDR will be updated. It will take into account the latest information. So I've been watching preseason carefully, injuries, form. So for example, Tottenham, I wasn't quite sure how to grade them. Thomas Frank's going to be much more solid than Ange. We know this. He's not into the business of playing toe-to-toe football. He's going to make sure it's very difficult for opponents. So they might go up in my FDR. Manchester United is another example. No European football, excellent signings. Maybe the team starts gelling and starts understanding Amaron's tactics. So these are things I will take into consideration. And the last Salah bunch I really like is from 28 to 32, where he's got West Ham, Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, and Fulham. So that's Mohamed Salah's bunches of 3 to plus games in a row that I quite like throughout the season. If you look at Haaland, he started the season not too bad. Wolves is a nice fixture. After that, he's got 3 okay fixtures. And then he's got from game week 13 to 17, where he's got 3 easy fixtures. Sandwiched in between them is okay fixtures. And from game week 21 to 23, he's got a decent run there as well. Palmer has got a really good start to the season. He's got from game week 1 to game week 6, 2 good fixtures and 4 okay fixtures. Like I said, There might be fixtures you want to captain, but if worse comes to worse and you had to, for example, Crystal Palace at home, I've got that as an okay fixture. Crystal Palace performed not too bad last season defensively, looking at their numbers. So I didn't put them down as an easy or a good fixture. But still, if you was really pushed, you could captain Palmer. There will be managers this season captaining Palmer at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace. 100%. Palmer's next run is from game week 21 to 27, where he's got 3 easy fixtures, 2 good fixtures, and 2 okay fixtures. Again, you need to think about whether you want him around this period or how you're going to mitigate against it. Is your premium got excellent fixtures around that time when Palmer's playing West Ham, Leeds, and Burnley? Looking at Saka's fixture runs, I can see from game week 7 to game week 12, he's got a decent run. 3 easy fixtures and 3 okay fixtures. After that, from game week 23 to 26, 2 okay, 2 easy. And Saka finishes the season pretty strong. I can see he'll be popular around that time. Game week 35 to 38, especially if Arsenal are actually challenging for the Premier League. 2 okay fixtures, 1 easy, 1 good. So his bunches are not too bad throughout the season. And lastly, Isak. Isak's one's a little bit more complicated. We touched on it at the start of the season. Is he going to be at Liverpool? Which could change how important he is. He would have no penalties. The goals at Liverpool probably more shared. I mean, Mohamed Salah tends to hoover them up. Where at Newcastle, most goals went through him. He took the penalties. So we have to consider that this could completely change if he does make the move. But I'm basing this on him being at Newcastle. Game week 3 and 4, back-to-back, Leeds and Wolves. Gorgeous. I mean, you just captain him right there, followed by a decent fixture, which is Bournemouth away. After that, he's got game week 8 to 11, and then game week 14 to 16. Again, he's got back-to-back promoted teams. Gorgeous. Burnley and Sunderland. My goodness. Game week 18 to 22, he's got 2 easy fixtures, 1 good fixture, and 2 okay fixtures. And his last bunch of fixtures was game week 31 to 33. So Isak has a good bunch of fixtures throughout the season. So that was me going through the 5 premiums and looking at their bunches of fixtures. It had to be at least 3 or more in a row. I've missed out all the other 2s or 1s when they're sandwiched in between horrible fixtures. I didn't want to put that in. This one here, I wanted to look at just the bunches of fixtures together. Right, let's have a look at my strategy and the 2 premiums I'm going to be starting the season with. And as you can see on the screen here, it's Mohamed Salah and Cole Palmer. Now, using all the information I've shown you previously, so the bunches of fixtures, the rotation, the promoted teams, and putting all that information together has made me come up with these 2 premiums that I'd like to start the season with. Now, the most important thing is here, I've looked at the rotation, the captaincy, and also the structure for my team. Because these 2 premiums, one coming in at 14.5, which is super expensive, one coming in at 10.5 is eating up a lot of my budget, which we will talk about a bit more after this section here. But let's get back to my 2 premiums. So Mohamed Salah and Cole Palmer. I like their fixtures combined together. Give me an example. Game week 1, Mohamed Salah, easy captain for me against Bournemouth, who've been decimated. They've lost a lot of players defensively, where Liverpool have got stronger and they might even get more stronger. But after that, you look and I see Newcastle and Arsenal. They're 2 avoid fixtures for me for captaincy. I don't need to sell him. He can score against them, but the probability is reduced, of course. I'm not going to captain him, which means I need to look at Cole Palmer. And I like his 2. West Ham, 100% I can captain Palmer there. And also Fulham at home at Stamford Bridge. We will take that. 2 excellent captaincies. After that, we go back to Mohamed Salah, Burnley away. You don't even flinch there. Just stick the captaincy and enjoy the points. Game week 5, Everton at home. Now, Everton under Moyes have been horrible. What I mean by that is, it's a compliment. They've been strong defensively. You do not want to play against them. But at Anfield, at a derby, where penalties could be there, it's one of the games with the most red cards in history, which means Mohamed Salah, even in a poor game, even in a very defensive game, could easily pick up a return. I'm not concerned about captaining him either. Game week 6 is a bit more tighter. Salah has Crystal Palace away, so it depends on form and how they're playing around that period. That is like weeks away. And Palmer has Brighton at home. I've given it to Palmer the captaincy at the moment, mainly because it's at Stamford Bridge, so we'll give him the edge there. But as I said, you will evaluate that closer to the time. Now, game week 7 is where it becomes interesting. These 2 premiums play each other. Now, of course, you could easily just captain one of them and hope you get something, whether it's a penalty or a piece of magic. But these games tend to be tightly contested, low XG, not many chances. So what do you do in this scenario here? And we're going to discuss that, as I said, in the next section, which comes down to team structure and what else you can do, what other alternatives you can do to mitigate against these situations here. So that doesn't happen just in game week 7. You can see in game week 10, Salah has Aston Villa at home. Yes, it's at home, but it's not a great fixture. Unai Emery, on their day, their team can be very, very difficult to play against. And Palmer has Tottenham in game week 10. Again, that's the reason I've highlighted it red. That tells me in game week 10, I need an alternative. I'm not comfortable. If you're forced into it, I will captain one of them, no problem. But ideally, I don't want that. I want a better alternative. And I saw earlier on in the fixture list, there was better fixtures. And we're going to talk a bit more in the next section regarding what to do when you've got a scenario like that. Your two premiums have got horrible fixtures. We're gonna get to that. I just want to finish off this section here just up until game week 16. And after that, you could see game week 9, Palmer, Sunderland. And game week 11 and 12, he's got Wolves and Burnley. And then after that, you can just leave it on Salah. Game week 13, 14, 15, and 16. Gorgeous fixtures. And then after that, he heads over to the African nations anyway. Plus, you might have wildcarded, used your chips. This is very far ahead, of course, but I do like to have a picture at least to around that period there. And yes, before you tell me in the comments, so many things can change around game week 14, 15. We can't plan that far ahead. 100% agree. But you can have an idea of what you would do if things do go well. Mohamed Salah's not injured. Those teams that highlighted green are still terrible. So that's the assumptions we have to make when we're looking that far ahead. Now let's go back to those red fixes. What should you do when your two premium rotations you've got in place actually have horrible fixtures? So this is my strategy for when Mohamed Salah and Cole Palmer have difficult fixtures and I don't want to captain either of them. My plan is in my team structure is to have those two premiums in midfield, but also have a £9 million forward, which means I can captain them as well. Yes, they're not premium. They might not be as steady, as consistent as the premiums that we had in our previous list. They might not have penalties, their minutes might not be as assured. That £9 million, these two players I've got here, you'd like to think are going to become pivotal to their teams. Now, Watkins, we know, Premier League veteran and an FPL manager's favourite. As long as he stays at Aston Villa, he's an excellent asset and I could easily start with him. Gyökeres is the new summer signing for Arsenal. His numbers from Portugal seem ridiculous. It seems a match made in heaven. A guy who finishes everything in sight, playing for one of the best teams in Europe, who create loads of chances. So he's got huge potential. Both coming in at 9 million, a gorgeous price. My team allows for this, for one of those to start the season. Gyökeres could actually get penalties. There's rumours of that. He might take the penalties from Saka. If he does, at that price, it will be ridiculous and he will be 100% owned. Now, why have I looked at these two? Well, in particular, I wanted a forward that at a price point, which means I can move if I need to without making too many chances. What I mean by that is I could start with Watkins and then straight away, if I see Gyökeres start flying, I could easily move there. The money is already allocated in that position. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is these two here have good fixtures whenever Mohamed Salah and Palmer have horrible fixtures. So for example, let's go to game week 7 where I said those two play each other. It's Liverpool versus Chelsea. Could be a very tight game. I don't want to captain either of them. I might not transfer them out, but I don't want to captain them. Okay, then these two here provide me a solution. Watkins has Burnley at home. I mean, come on, we would take that all day. Gyökeres has West Ham at home. Again, gorgeous fixtures. Watkins in game week 10 unfortunately doesn't because he plays Liverpool, of course. But then Gyökeres does. If you kill with him, you've got him against Burnley away. Now, what I will say here is, of course, we have transfers and chips. I know this. But I am trying my best to mitigate for the start of the season to give myself the best opportunity to have the best captains week in, week out. And we mustn't forget, it's not just those two fixtures you get when you bring in a player like this up front. No, we get the added bonus of having other fixtures we can play around with. And what I mean by that is, even though I've allocated captaincy between Palmer and Salah for the first couple of game weeks, if I see one of these players with a superior fixture, I could easily go there. So what I mean by that is if I did go Watkins in game week 5, I could go him. He plays Sunderland. Why wouldn't I? If he's in my team, game week 12, he plays Leeds. Game week 13, he plays Wolves. And this is what I'm getting at here. They add an alternative. Yes, this video is all about premiums, the importance of them, and building our team around them for captaincy, for our chip strategies. I know this. but these guys are just under premiums. They're not far off. Premium started at 10 million in this video. These guys are £9 million players. And as you saw last season, Watkins was an incredible FPL asset. Nothing's to stop him repeating that. And the new Arsenal boy could easily make a mockery of his price point. Same with him. When you look there, you've got the Leeds fixture in game week 2. So if you go there, you can easily captain him in against Leeds. You've got the game week 10 and 11. You've got game week 16. You've got game week 7. They give me one more option in my team for captaincy. And it helps. It spreads the load. So if one of them is injured, say Palmer's injured or Salah's not on form, or they're playing against a team who's just having one of those moments, then I can come to one of these. So this is the reason in my team structure, I'm going with 2 premiums in midfield and one of these forwards, which allow me to be able to put captaincy on them, which takes a load of stress off. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Get in the comments and let me know which premiums are you starting the season with. Is it Haaland and Salah? Is it just Haaland by himself? Is it Saka and Isaac? I'd love to know the combination you're going with. Now, before you go watch your next video, do me a favor. Drop a like and subscribe. I'm trying my best to reach the next milestone, which is 2,000 subscribers. In the deadline streams for my members, I will be having monthly prizes for the mini leagues and for the predictions leagues. And if you was part of this last season, it was incredible. You're going to want to be part of it again this season, so definitely get involved.